Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right. Most of you know I've got 3 entries. One is a ADX magenta peak, and there's specific criteria to enter a magenta peak off a higher time frame. And basically, the lower time frame flips colors on the ATR, then price will go back to retest that ATR, and then you get an entry into that retracement. We can also enter off of a congestion dot going into the higher time frame, or we can enter off of an ATR going into the higher time frame. Now, these strategies incorporate those 3 trade setups. What, Christian? Oh, okay. So does everybody understand that? Because if you don't understand the entries, you're not going to understand the strategies. Okay? So, for example, let's see. Okay, we were at an ATR here on gold. And I'm going to blow this up for a moment. So on the 45-minute, you're at an ATR and you get an entry into this downtrend. At the same time, you happen to be at an ATR here as well. Does everybody see that? You're trend trading. Both time frames are telling you exactly the same thing. Gold's going down. Does everybody understand that? And what happens? Gold goes down. All right. Now, this blue line here represents a mechanism in the strategy that says, okay, if I move down 20 ticks, then I want you to change my stop. I no longer want to use the stop up here because it offsets the ATR. I want you to bring down the stop. Okay. And you can see it brought down the stop and you exited at, on the live edge of the market, you exited at 1067.4. The historical strategy does not exit until the close of the next bar. In this case, it was exactly the same. It did not make a difference. If we go over and look at the British pound, you'll see it does make a difference. Okay. This is an actual live trade in the simulator that I did. It entered at 51.33. And this is what it looks like when it starts to enter. You can see there's a limit order there. And if it touches this limit order, it will be filled. Okay. Then on the next bar, your stop is triggered. Now, on the live edge of the strategy, if you're doing this in simulation mode, you can see that it actually took you straight out of that trade. Do y'all see that? You were out at 1.5929. Okay? So you entered here and you exited here. According to the strategy, however, it did not, historically, it would not exit until 31. What's the difference? The difference is the way that they calculate exits on the strategy if you are not trading it live. Okay? Now, that makes a huge difference in your performance reports because it actually waits until the next bar, okay, to exit. Well, the close of the next bar or the open of the next bar could be significantly off. Here's the way it was portrayed before I recalculated everything. Do y'all see how it exited here instead of over here where it should have exited? The reason is the way that they do the historical entries. If you are not in a live trade in Simulator or your live account, you cannot rely on any of the performance reports because they're all off. You might think that being 1 or 2 ticks off doesn't really affect you very much. Well, if you're doing 500 trades, it affects you a lot, to the tune of about $3,000 to $5,000. Do y'all understand that? Huge difference. Now, the purpose of the strategy is not to get you into the market. It's to get you to look at your trade setup. Okay? I'm going to put that down for a minute. If we go back to this entry that was generated on the British pound, okay, you're at an ATR, the ATR strategy kicks off. If you look up, you don't see that big bar yet. All you see is the beginning formation of this bar, okay? Do you really want to go against your higher time frame? There's no magenta peak there, is it? Are you supposed to be taking a long against the 45-minute? No. So even though it looks profitable, actually you should not have been in that trade. Does everybody understand that? You make more money by going with your higher time frame, not against your higher time frame. Here's one on crude, okay? You did a magenta peak, okay? Now this actually on the live edge, if you'd have been in it, and I was not, I didn't automate it until later, you would have been out on this yellow bar, okay? This is another one where it tells you you're out here. On the live edge, you would not have been. You would have been out on this bar. But let's go back to the entry, okay? Was this a valid entry on the 3-minute chart? Now, the 45-minute is telling you to go long here. Are you at an ATR? No. Do you understand that? If you're not at an ATR, you cannot take that trade. Over here, you get a magenta peak, okay? You're not close enough to the ATR on the strategy to get you in back here, okay? It does trigger over here. Do y'all understand that? Yes or no? And you have to get to within so many ticks of this ATR for that entry to be generated. If it had not been generated here, it would have been generated over here. And these are all inputs that I control on the strategy. All right. Let's put that back in its place. All right, you had one on the Dow this morning, okay? Here's your entry on the Dow, okay? If you had been looking at it because you knew you were going long, could you have entered here? You would have been breaking the rules because you did not retrace back to the ATR. Now, I know because that plus sign right there is white, I could have entered that. What does the white plus sign mean? Anybody want to venture a guess? It means you're close enough. That's why it turns white, to let you know you're close enough to the ATR. I'm trying to get it bigger so you can see it. This is the point where you actually could have entered because you were close enough. I just don't have the ATR set up to enter there. Do you understand? You just got another buy order on the British pound. Okay? That was the ding ding that you just heard. Do you really think you should enter that trade looking at the 45-minute chart? Would that be a good trade setup? You're close enough to the ATR because it's white behind there. The bar is white. You are close enough to take a short off of the ATR, okay? On the 45-minute, why would you be going long on the 3-minute? Hello? Yeah, it does. If you have intrabar update on, Larry, it turns white. Does everybody understand that? I could look at that white bar and say, don't you dare take that long trade. You are going against a 45-minute. It should stand out at you now. Hello, don't do that. Uh, Short on the Dow over here. Do y'all see that? You see how you're at a congestion dot over here on the 45-minute? Could you have taken that trade? Yeah, you could have waited until it tested the ATR anywhere along here. Where did you get volume divergence? You got volume divergence here. You got volume divergence here. Could you have taken that trade at that point? Yes. The strategy is just giving you, hey, heads up, you've got an entry. This is the direction of the higher time frame. Does everybody understand that? That is yeah, either you're doing a Buddha trade, Dave, or you're trend trading. I don't believe in automated strategies, Christian. Not unless you're going to just trade a single time frame. Now, if I wanted to trade the 12-minute, what would I be trading into? The 180. I just don't have it open right now because I think it would lock up my screens. It's just like the Japanese yen right now, okay? You're at a congestion dot, all right? This is one, I don't have the congestion entry on there, but if I put it in there, it would trigger entry. I'll show you. Insert strategy, congestion zone. I do 5. See, there's your entry. It's only for me, actually, Christian. Now, if you're looking at this, and I'll be using it in the room, but I'm not giving it out because somebody would probably screw it up, and I don't want it screwed up. Is your 3-minute telling you to go short right now? No, it's not. What would need to happen on the 3-minute to take a short over on the Japanese yen? You would need to flip the ATR. It would need to go from blue to red, and then it would need to go back and test the ATR for you to get into that short. The only other potential that you would have, and I know this because I know my trading time frames, would be to copy this window, paste this window. I don't know whether I did or not. No, I did not. And what time frame would I want to look at? A 720-minute chart. Why would I want to look at a 720-minute chart? Because if I'm at an ATR, that would give me an entry on the 45-minute. I would not be trading the 3-minute. I would be trading the 45-minute chart. See? You're at an ATR on the 720. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? The 45 correlates to the 720. But if I was trading the 45-minute, I have to be willing to sit with this trade for a few days, okay? Because it's probably going to take at least 5 bars on the 720 to work out. Well, 5 bars on the 720, that's a long time. You can't check for divergence on the 720. Not really, because we don't have enough tick data to check for it, Larry. They typically only give us about 90 days of tick data. And that's not enough to really use on the 720. That's the same issue with why the strategy cannot calculate accurately historically. You can't check on it, to be honest with you. Now, today, we do have a Fed announcement that's going to come out sometime today. They don't give us a time, and it's quite unusual for this Fed announcement to come out. It's totally unanticipated. What are they going to say? We have no idea. Would I be in any binary trades with that looming over us? Nope. Does everybody understand that? Normally, the feds don't just out of the blue come out with an announcement. What are they going to say? We have no idea. And I don't want to be in the market when there's an unscheduled Fed announcement coming out. That just doesn't make good sense. Hold on a minute. Do you see how this generated the buy? And again, I would not be taking that buy because what's the 45-minute doing? Oh, yeah, I think it's going to be ugly. I don't think it's going to be good. I really don't. Now, how can we use the strategy in the room to trade? Well, if we're generating a trend trade on a 3-minute, we could go out of the money on a 2-hour binary. Do y'all understand that? As long as we're trading into a higher time frame. See, right now on gold, you're going to get an ATR entry. Do y'all see that? I guarantee you'll get it. It's going to come back to this ATR. It's going to give you a long entry. Hello, look up at the 45-minute. You're at an ATR. Why in the hell would you do that? This is exactly what I teach you not to do. This 3-minute is not going to rule a 45-minute. No way. Do y'all understand that now? On the Euro 45-minute chart, okay? Do you see how it's right at a congestion dot? It's coming back to the ATR. It's already generated a long entry, so you took it. Hello, where's the ADX at? 74. No, I don't teach you to do that. Do y'all understand that now? If you're trading a 45-minute chart, the average winning trade will take 7 bars. That's on average. So should you be out on a 2-hour binary? It takes 7 45-minute bars. That's right. If you need 7 bars in your direction, you better be out on the daily. What if you have a magenta peak on the 12-minute? The rules are the same. You would trade a 12 and a 1-minute, right? How far out can you go? You can go out 2 hours on a 12-minute. What if it's a 180-minute chart? You better be out on at least a daily, preferably a weekly. And if you have it on a daily, you're probably going to have to trade a smaller time frame. Because a daily is going to take 7 bars. That's 7 trading days. They don't have a binary that goes out 7 days. Most that goes out is 5 days. You beginning to understand the time difference now? Or the time allocation, I should say. Over on the Dow, do you see how you just got a short over here? Look up to the 45-minute. Should you take that trade? Oh yeah, I'm going to go short with an ATR directly below me. Okay. And you wonder why you're going to have a losing trade? What would the trade on the 3-minute look like? It would look like a long position. Is there a long position on the 3-minute? No, there is no trade then. Do y'all understand that now? Do you see how much simpler it is to look at? We just had a buy on gold. Again, do you really want to take that? Do you? Because your 45-minute is short. It just tested the ATR. Do you really, really want to go long on a 3-minute chart? No. Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't a Buddha earlier. This was a trend trade because you were going long off of here. The actual Buddha trade, and I'd have to line them up, was here. And I kind of screwed that one up because it asked me if I wanted to do something, and I said no, and it canceled the order, Larry. Well, this is your Buddha trade on gold. Do you see it? You're already getting the buy over on gold. And what are you waiting for? ATR goes from red to blue. Price comes back and tests the ATR. That occurred. There's no sellers. That's a good trade. And here you even got a momentum shift. Do you understand now? Yeah, it was earlier on the Dow. This is where your buy came in, and well, that's at the end of that bar. Oop. This is where it would have come in. I just don't have it set to pick up that trade because I have to input how many ticks away from the ATR it is in the strategy, Larry. And I have it very, very small at the moment. It's like 5 ticks to the ATR. Okay, now you got filled on the gold. Oh my goodness, you got stopped out. Well, I told you that to begin with, didn't I? Do y'all see how much simpler this is? The trade setup comes in on the 45. We confirm it with the 3-minute. If the 3-minute doesn't confirm it, we don't take it. If we see a trade on the 3-minute that is not confirmed on the 45-minute, you don't touch the trade. Do you see how you're getting stopped out of the Dow? Didn't I tell you you would be stopped out of the Dow? It's not a good trade setup. And you see all of this on the euro? It looks terrible, don't it? Well, that is what happens when you get congestion zones. That is why I say do not trade unless you're at the top or the bottom of a congestion zone. That was just telling me that the stop was generated over here, which we already knew was going to be generated. See how the short worked out beautiful. Why? Because both time frames were aligned. When both time frames are aligned in the same direction, you get good trades. When you're fighting a time frame, then guess what? It doesn't work out to your advantage. Oh yeah, the euro's been they're waiting on what the announcement is in December from the ECB, I think, more than anything, unless the Fed announcement does it today. You see how the 3-minute NASDAQ, the ATR is down here. Over here, it's above. It's not an entry there. You might be getting one on gold right now. See how you're retracing to the ATR? And let me see how far I have that set off. Let's do 10. There's your entry. I'm just going to do this one in the simulator where that one is set for. The ATR is at 1071.2. We'll go 5 ticks above that. Order filled. My anticipation would be that it would at least come back to the congestion dots. Yeah. Me. Let's see. We're expecting gold to get to 1068, right? And this is where you could do 1067 for 91. Which is one of the teenies that I like to do, and just set a profit target at 75. If it flipped the ATR, you would automatically be out. Why choose a 2-hour binary right now, guys? Do y'all understand why I would choose a 2-hour binary? Because this is a trend trade, right? The 3 minute should just go ahead and move down. You can get more teenies on the 2 hours than you can on a daily. This may not be a daily trade. Would I be in this my live account today? Absolutely not. At some point today, the feds are going to come out with an announcement. We don't know when. I would not be trading today. I've said this multiple times now. It is very unusual for the feds to come out with an announcement. And this is the difference between binaries and futures. Future side, you're risking $130. The binary side, you're risking $9. And this is per contract on each. Understand? I cannot move my stop down over on the future side until I get down here to 100. Then it's moved 10 ticks in my favor. I would consider moving it down. Do y'all understand? The stop for gold on the futures is 1071.8, which is a $130 loss. What most people see is, but I can make more on the futures, and you can lose more, especially as a beginning trader. You can lose a lot more. Now, I already know I have not went to the 10 ticks. I want it to go 10 ticks in my favor first because I've only been up to $90. If it had gone 10 ticks in my favor, I would be at 100. It's the difference. Let me change something over here because it's giving me an error message. Yeah, I do. Okay. Uh, it doesn't know what it's talking about. So on this one, I lost 130, and on the binaries, it was 9. Which one is less painful, 130 or 9? To me, the $9 trade is a lot less painful. I mean, painless. Was the trade setup valid? Absolutely. Did it work in our favor? Nope. Does everybody understand that now? Trying to see if I saw any more. Let me format that symbol. Okay, it's just not working. The yen is giving me an error message, so that's what I was checking on. Oh, see if it's this one that's causing the issue. No. Okay, go here. Remove that one, status that one up. Okay. It would have to flip this ATR and not form a congestion dot to enter there. Just a moment. Okay, I'm back. The only potential I see right now would be on the Dow, and that would be going up. Now, if I put the 80 ATR strategy on the 45-minute, it would have generated an entry there. Okay, I already know that that is an entry. Okay, to lower risk, we would use the 3-minute. It would need to retrace back to the ATR, right? You're going right back to test that ATR again on the British pound. There's no trade unless that is flipped to blue, and then it has to come back and retest it. If this retraces back to the ATR on the 3-minute, you could not take that unless it's flipped this ATR, and you already see you have a congestion dot up there. See how they're not being able to flip that ATR? Normally I would have the volume on there. It scrunches it so bad I can't. See how you're getting the divergence right here on the NASDAQ? But now that bar does not complete until 10:30. So it just started forming. This is when you just have to wait and watch. I do know the Dow's going in one direction and the NASDAQ's going in the opposite direction. That's usually not a good sign. It's supposed to be sometime in January, or the first of the year, I should say. But I haven't even started programming the indicators for Ninja yet because they still have glitches in the program. I'm not too ambitious about getting into glitches. When I know that it runs smoothly, then I'll do the indicators, but not until then. I believe we have a 10 o'clock market report this morning, in addition to the Fed announcement that's coming sometime today. Oh, it's just existing home sales. All right, while we're waiting on that, let me go grab another cup of coffee and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. You see how the ATR on the NASDAQ still holding? Now this is going to come back. It's going to touch this ATR. It's going to trigger a long. Don't take that long. You're better off taking the long on the Dow because at least you're going in the direction of the Dow 45. Do y'all see that? See how you just triggered another trade over on the British pound, but that ATR is still holding. I would not take that trade. Not until they can flip that ATR. Stop on the Dow should come in about 57. I think I've got it set to 10 ticks off of the ATR. You see how it flipped the ATR on that last bar? The strategy historically marks the exit at the open of this bar. On the live edge, it would have been the close of this bar. The difference is 64 versus 65. Actually, that was the low. Versus 66, actually. So in this case, it marked it 2 ticks off. And it's very important because if you're looking at reports, if the numbers aren't right, the reports aren't right. You just had one entered on the Japanese yen 3-minute going into the 45-minute. That wouldn't be a bad trade because you're going into the 45-minute. You're not overbought on the 45-minute. You may be overbought on the 12-minute. Just looking at this ADX, I would think that you was. That you were. That you was. Oh, God. If I pull up a 12-minute window, it will tell us. Insert analysis group. Yeah. See? Now, I knew that just looking at this ADX, this would have to be overextended. Okay. That tells me this should pull back to this ATR at 81.27. If you went over to the USD JPY, you'd probably have the same exact setup, except you would be going long, and it should go up to 123.06. So you could actually get 123.08 for 11 bucks with a 2-hour expiration. And that's exactly where the ATR is right now. Now the stop on this crude trade has not been triggered, and I need to let it run to make sure that it's triggered correctly. It's supposed to come in above the high of this bar. So I can't exit that manually. I need to watch it to make sure it comes in correctly. Turn that off. You can't take the short on the Dow because this is at the ATR on the 45-minute. That would not be a good trade setup. Why would it not be a good trade setup? Because the 45 minutes going in one direction, 3 minutes going in the opposite direction. If you were at the congestion dot up here, you could take it back down, but you're not. You're going against your higher time frame. It's not a good trade setup. See how you just got stopped out of the euro again? See how this is hanging right at that congestion dock? I know not to take those trades. Just like I knew that we had a magenta peak coming in on the 12-minute yen. And I could tell that just by looking at the ADX on the 3-minute. You're getting a buy on the euro, you don't take that because the euro 45 minutes going to come down. Why do I know it's going to come down? Because it's at 77.93 on the ADX. Hello. It's considered overbought. Even though it hasn't moved, that's considered overbought. And that's because it changed, and you can see it in the line. It changed from red to blue. Okay? That's a bad trade scenario. You know, if you're trading this magenta peak, this should actually be blue. It should not be red. Oh, wrong one. I forgot. I've got to reformat it for the USD JPY. I tell you what, I'm not going to do that because it's going to mess up my strategy and I'll have to reset it. I'll do a 1-minute chart. If I do 4x, I have to reset the strategy. I can't do it like that. So copy this, paste this, and now change it to 1 minute. You have to flip the ATR. You have to come back to test the ATR on the Virgin volume. Did you have your trade criteria met? This would have been your entry here. And I'm going to make that white because we can't see it. The low of that bar was 83. This was 81. You were within 5 ticks of the ATR. You're coming back to test it again. You're going to get another entry point. There's your magenta peak on the 1 minute. You're within 5 ticks of the ATR right now. It'd be ideal if you get a momentum shift there. I was trying to see if I could find a time for the Fed announcement, but I don't see it.
Order filled.
Whoop, I must have been automating something. It's got to be... Oh. You see, the only potential you have on the euro is 20 ticks. Would you really want to take that trade for 20 ticks on a 45-minute chart? Hmm. Bloomberg economic calendar doesn't even have the Fed announcement on it. Interesting. I want to move these over. Let's see, this one enticed you to enter. This one stopped you out. And that can happen at any time. That's why I don't go against this one. The 2-hour binary trade on the 12-minute is the risk on it was $11, and you've been up to right at $11 of profit. I have an order sitting at 75. See how you're getting a buy on the British pound right at the congestion dot? Why would you take that when the ATR up here is holding price down? Every time you hear that ding ding on my phone, it's a trade going off. Gonna shrink that up so I can keep up with it. Still don't have a trade set up here because it may flip this ATR, but the congestion dot is right up above it. It's probably not going to be a good trade setup.
Order filled.
Okay. Do y'all see how the strategy actually on the live edge came out on this one? Historically came out on this one. It makes a big difference because that next bar may be way off. Think wide bars, okay? Now, for someone that tells me there's no trades in a day, my phone would beg to differ from them. When this one gets to the ATR, it should take profits. See how the British pound is still trying to buy the congestion zone? And I've already told you, don't take that trade because you're going against the 45-minute chart. You are not supposed to trade against the 45-minute chart. Remember the gold trade? The one that we lost $130 on? It's actually making money over on the binaries. It just needed time. We were risking $9. We're up to $9.50 right now. $14 just took us out. So we went $9 in and made $25 per contract, but the future lost $130. Why? Because we had a market spike. The USD JPY is still working in our favor. It's back up to $8 now. That one still has an hour and a half. If you get divergence, you would exit. Do y'all understand now how you would use this? It's a lot easier to learn the setups if you're on binaries than on the futures, where a market spike can cost you a lot of money. Everybody understand? And those 12 minutes are easy to do on the USD JPY, the euro. I mean, you've got binaries every 4 ticks. It don't take a lot. You see how the ATR just pulled down on the 12 minute? Okay. You're up to $9 of profit. You would take it. Is it a 1-to-1? Yes, it is. But do you see how that ATR just pulled down? What are you waiting for? Does everybody understand now? If your time frames do not match, you don't enter the trade. And I think on crude, you have the same problem that you have on the euro, okay? And I'm going to mark it for you so you can visually see it. Your stop would need to offset this high by at least 5 ticks. So that's going to make you about here on your stop, okay? Your entry is here. Your profit target is here. Does this look kind of heavy on the risk side? Yes, it does. Now go and look at crude. You had the same issue, and it's the same thing that I tell you to pay attention to, and you don't understand when I say it. Okay? And this is giving you a great visual on, hey, something's wrong here. Okay? This is where our stop would have been if we had entered this ADX trade, and the profit potential on entry was here. Do you see how it's skewed to the risk side? It's out of whack. It's not in your favor. Don't take the freaking trade. And to me, it's very visual, but I've been doing it for a while. Does everybody understand that now? Cool. Any other questions? All right, we are, as far as I know, going to be trading tomorrow. Let me, provided that the Fed speaks today and not tomorrow, because it is tentative, which means I don't know what time they're going to speak, and I would not be trading my live account not knowing what time they're going to come out and open their mouth. We do have CB Consumer Confidence tomorrow at 10 o'clock. At 8:30, we have the preliminary GDP quarter over quarter. That's the only thing I really see that may affect us tomorrow. So we'll start at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I am going to be running the strategies so we can see the potential trades as they are coming in. Okay. Any questions today, guys? And you're stopped out again on the British pound. No big surprise there. All right. If there's no questions, I'll get this video posted later today. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Okay?